So as usual, we're riding out at the bridge, and I
Okay,
said
Hank, hold that thought for 1 second.
Yeah.
Shall we begin?
You aren't stuck in traffic. You are traffic.
Let's begin now.
Please get that bicycle-shaped object out of this shop. Oh, no, dude. No mix and match here. Black bottoms or full-on kit. Pedal on, bro. Pedal on.
Let's begin now.
Oh, geez. Learn the hard way. Wider is better.
Today is Tuesday, October 1st, 2019. You just downloading or listening to Bike Shop CX.
Bike Shop CX.
Thanks for listening. Thanks for downloading, everyone. Music we're using on today's show is Bijou by Philly Run. You can get this tune at the Free Music Archive where you can download it
For free.
with me as always.
Mr. David Palin.
All right,
as always.
On today's show, we're going to have a guest, Matt Henderson, co-winner of the April CX Challenge. So that's going to be fun to catch up with Matt, see what's going on. He was at both of the World Cups. We're not going to do...
He was at Alma. We've been seeing him week after week after week.
We're not going to do any of the any Tech Talks topic specific. We do have questions to answer, which we'll get to. But we're going to be wrapping up our World Cup weekends, the U.S. World Cup weekends, talking about that and talking about Waterloo. And then doing the questions and what are you working on and all that good stuff. So, all right. Enough of my yapping. Let's get on with it. The bike shop is open.
You proud of me? I'm sitting here very still. Not playing with mics.
You have a new
Not typing.
You have a new mic boom.
I do.
So we will in the future we will hear fewer microphone bangs from Mr. David Palin. It wasn't totally your fault because you had a mic stand, which anytime you touch the table, it sounds like a thunder clap.
Right.
But I mean,
I don't understand.
probably the only people that would notice that are me and Doug McClintock.
And Doug McClintock from the Gravelot. So the thing that I don't understand is what are these handcuffs on the table that you have my wrists held down so I can't touch anything?
Oh, that's funny. That's funny. So, hey, Mr. Dave Palin, we are back from our Waterloo weekend.
Indeed, sir.
That was fun.
You know, I had a blast. We saw so many members of our little family.
Yeah, that was great seeing everybody from Wide Angle Podium and hanging out and getting to see awesome stuff and talk to a bunch of people. And before we go any further,
Yes, sir.
let's give a huge thank you
Big thank
to
you.
all the people that came up and said hi.
Indeed. I just brought you more stuff after you left in the middle of a
I'm
rainstorm.
like,
people
what
brought
are you
us
giving
stuff.
me? Yeah, what are you giving me? This is stuff people brought for us, little knickknacks and stuff. It's awesome stuff. Yeah, you mentioned I had to leave, so as everybody knows if they listen to the previous show, I of course with any big race once a year at cyclocross I have to get sick.
You do. It's
So
a rule. I was looking
was-
it up in the UCI. It's not a UCI rule. It's a USAC rule.
I was sick between the two World Cups, at least the worst part of it. But yeah, I thought I was feeling better when we got to that last day at Waterloo, man. I started getting a little bit chilled again, and it's just like, I cannot stand out here.
And normally I like to pressure you as best I can to make you do things that you don't really want to do. It was so obvious at that point.
I cannot stand out here in water for an entire day while I'm chilled. And it's like I would have just gotten so much worse. So and then I'm like,
a day, man! It was so wet.
Oh,
so
we're not
rainy.
talking sprinkles.
No,
we're talking downpour.
Yeah.
I mean, and it's like, well, but if I sit in the van with the heat on or something, what good is that? I might as well be driving and get home. So that's what I decided to do. So I actually missed the race. I have watched them though.
good. That's
One
good.
nice thing about it
Which
being
is interesting, of course, because I love the atmosphere of being at a race and running around from place to place. You
But
get to see so much more
when you
you're
watch
watching
the
it on
live
TV.
feed. Yeah, absolutely. So I have watched both the races, men's and women's, and I know what the atmosphere was like. I was there the previous 2 days. So, I think I have a pretty good feel for what went on.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure you do. And it was cold, and it was rainy, and it was wet. And I kept thinking, you know what I need?
A rain jacket.
A rain jacket. I could borrow one that's bigger than me so I could put it over my backpack, and I could have used a real good cup of coffee, too. But, unfortunately, Dan
so
wasn't at this event.
what we're talking about is I lent Mr. David Palin my custom Women's CX Project rain jacket that, thinking in good faith, all right, David will take care of this.
Yeah, David's responsible adult.
3 days later, I get a message from Doug McClintock from the the Gravel Lot podcast, and he says, "Hey, I got this rain jacket that says Women's CX Project. This is probably yours, isn't it?" I'm like, "How did you get that? That's supposed to be in David's great care."
And Mr. David Palin's out there hating on everybody that was in any of the tents saying, I can't believe someone lifted that thing. I take it off for a minute and it's gone.
So to make a long story short, you owe Doug $7 for shipping.
Doug, it's coming. I need you, Doug, send me your PayPal account name, and that $7 is coming your way.
But you mentioned Grimpeur Brothers Coffee.
I did.
This show is, of course, one of the sponsors for it is Grimpeur Brothers Coffee. Get on over to GrimpeurBrothers.com or go to WideAnglePodium.com and click on the Grimpeur Brothers link, and it'll take you right to either the Full Schleck or Hello Cyclocross Friends. And if you buy those coffees, it helps support the network, and specifically Bike Shop CX.
And you know what? Your taste buds will be very happy.
So good. I got, finally, for the first time, I got to try
the Sunny G.
Sunny G, because Sunny accidentally, she left a bag for us to try.
Oh, she entrusted you with something.
She left a bag for us to try and sell at Waterloo, and it mysteriously went home with me, and no one bought it. And I was like, well, this ain't going to sit here.
No, it's because it'll go bad.
This needs to get used.
Yeah.
So, I've already
So tell me the tasting notes.
I don't know. It's orange.
Blueberries?
It's a Colombian coffee, and it's like orange or something, I think. It is. Since in 2 days, it is October 3rd, Amy D Day.
Yeah.
It is the best Grimpeur Brothers coffee I've had since I had the original bag of the Amy D.
Coffee.
Yeah, I mean, it's that good. So, man, oh man, if you want to support Sunny, become a subscriber to her coffee. I think you can still do that. I don't know.
I'm sure you can.
Yeah. Or Caroline Monty. I'm sure that one's good too. I haven't tried that. And, that helps too. Doesn't support our network, but we are huge fans of theirs, and anything you can do to support them is much appreciated too. So.
French national champion.
That's
Caroline
right.
Monty.
That's right. So, Mr. David Palin.
Yes, sir.
Question.
More questions.
What
are
you working on?
Am I working on? This morning, Dr. T and I went out for a ride. And she messaged me, I'm on my way, but can you take a look at my derailleur? It's kind of been making a little bit of noise on the race that I did.
DI2
front derailleur.
Did she have to do like the riders in the road worlds, like kicking their...
No.
Okay, good.
She takes better care of her equipment than that. And it does a better job of all of her sponsors, as though she were actually sponsored. She wouldn't be kicking her equipment mid-ride.
Yeah, so you fixed it?
We did. It was, at first, when she described it with kind of wobbly, I figured just the tightening bolt, the fixing bolt on it, and I would be good. And, of course, that wasn't it, because when I wiggled it, it was tight at that junction. But the bolts that bolt the bracket to the down tube, the seat tube, had loosened back a little bit.
Wait. I'm trying to picture this again. Go
All right.
Say that again.
So there's a mounting bracket
right.
that the DI2 front derailleur is mounted to.
Okay.
And that is mounted to the seat tube.
I thought you said rear derailleur.
No, front derailleur.
Okay. All right. Well, now it makes sense.
No, it does, sure.
So,
because the rear derailleur is not mounted to the seat tube.
There's a bracket from the rear derailleur to the seat tube?
It's a long bracket.
And the down tube? What? So you took care of it?
Took care of it. We made sure to put a little bit of Loctite on it, put them in place, torqued them up, and off we went for our ride this morning.
And it shifted fine.
No. Wouldn't have that been cool? No, of course, it rubbed.
I had to throw that last little bit.
It rubbed.
David was fine until I threw that last little tiny important
little
tidbit.
detail. Little detail. Because we didn't have her go off. If it were in the shop, we would take it out for test ride and around the parking lot or something.
Right.
But what better test ride than going out for 25 miles, right? That's the best test ride.
That's right.
And
now you're sure it doesn't work.
It rubbed. It did rub. So it was actually just a matter of once we tightened that up, we then loosened the fixing bolt and straightened repositioned the front derailleur, and it's working like a charm now.
Excellent.
Yes.
Well done.
Which, when I say the word charm, all I can think of is, what you working on?
For some reason, I don't know. So this, you know what, dude, this is kind of crazy.
Yeah.
But I was laying in bed the other night. I haven't been to the shop in forever because I've been doing all this cyclocross stuff. So I'm laying going, man, you know, you ever heard of the bike company Grandis?
No, sir.
They're Italian.
Yeah.
I have one of their frames in my basement.
I didn't know that.
With a campy headset and the
Is
front
new?
fork. No.
I know it's not a new.
I've had it for a while.
New to you? No.
I ordered it on eBay a couple years ago. It's a 56, which is my size. It's not a great high-level Italian frame. It's kind of a very stock frame over there. Grandis is a very well-known brand over there. They have this blue color that's kind of their color, like Bianchi has Celeste, you know. And so it has that. It's got some scrapes on the paint, but the paint's like good enough that I'll probably just clean it real well and clear coat it someday. And I just was, all of a sudden, I'm like, I think I should start putting that together.
In the middle of the night, you're thinking
In the middle of the night. So the next day, I put that in the stand, and I started going through all my old parts, thinking I want to try stuff. I mean, I'd like to put campy stuff on it if I can, but my main goal is to not buy anything. To try and just build the whole thing with stuff that I have. So I started that process of going through. I found a old 3T stem where the 3 T's, it doesn't say the number 3 and T. It actually has TTT on it.
Right.
And it's like, it's not engraved. It's actually raised. The T's are raised.
Ooh.
Yeah, on this old quill stem. So I got that, and that fits. I found a seat post that works.
That's not easy.
I forget what size it was. Something crazy small. And I have a couple of campy Italian threaded bottom brackets, so I just got to decide which one of those to use. I actually have a carbon fiber cartridge one.
Ooh.
That came on my Colnago that when I upgraded the crank, I didn't need anymore. It's a square taper.
Gotcha. Oh, okay.
So when I upgraded to the carbon crank, I didn't need that anymore. So that's just been sitting on the shelf for a while. So that's a possibility. And, of course, I have wheels.
You have wheels?
I don't need to. And then, but I'm gonna. What if I do have to buy anything?
That needs like campy wheels, though.
I'm thinking I might get campy. I don't have any campy friction shifters at the moment. I have several pair of friction shifters, but none of them are campy right now. So I'll either use one of the cool sets that I have and just go with that, which is probably what I'll do. Or if I do buy anything for it, it would be the just the set of levers themselves, which aren't going to be that expensive.
Yeah.
So that's what I was working on, starting to put that Grandis together.
Nice
to see what I can do with.
Where
that,
does the commuter / internal hub / bike for
I haven't done much to that.
Yeah.
That's been sitting. That's going to be something probably once cross ends, once US cross ends, I'll start working on that and have that ready for spring.
Nice.
So there we go. So yeah, that's what I'm working on.
Cool.
So Mr. David Palin.
Yes, sir.
We have been converting people away from safety pins.
Yes, we have.
To TNR tape. The number of people at the Alma GP, at Jingle Cross, at Trek, or Waterloo, coming up being like, this stuff is amazing.
Yeah, including a local legend. Am I right?
The man who invented cyclocross in Michigan.
I was going to say that, but I didn't want Jeff Weinert to get mad at me.
Jeff Weinert.
Yeah, Jeff Weinert is a fan of TNR tape.
We converted Jeff Weinert,
former
former Masters national champion Jeff Weinert,
indeed,
to he even posted, "I am never using safety pins again."
Yeah, and he bought his own.
And he bought
I'll tell
some
you
Tyler
something, that
Cloutier.
a Masters national champion goes out and buys their own of anything. That is a strong endorsement.
Oh, Jeff, you know we're just teasing you.
Yeah, no, I'm not teasing at all. Jeff's the real deal.
No, I know.
Jeff is the real
so
deal.
that's cool. We
Yeah.
had one of our listeners come up at
Viewers.
at Waterloo and say his son used it was our socks
Oh yeah,
that added watts to his race because he went from 13th to 5th.
yeah.
In his race that morning, all
bump.
because of our socks.
Yeah.
So
We tried to say maybe it wasn't the socks, but they were convinced. They were convinced that it
But I
was indeed
believe
the socks.
that kid was using TNR tape too. So yes, it is. If you are looking for a different way to connect your race number to your jersey or your running singlet
Yes.
or whatever,
Yeah.
TNR tape, give the stuff a try. If you see us at a race, we will be at Cincy. I will be at Indy, and we'll have sample packets. And a couple people that came up to us at Waterloo, actually, Aaron was right next to me, and
Yeah.
I was like, they asked me how does it work, and normally I have my spiel that I give. I'm like,
Yeah.
you're in luck. You got the man right here, and Aaron
Indeed.
like so happy to jump in and tell people about it because it's so exciting what is going on with TNR tape.
And they have version 3.0 already.
Is it out? Can you buy it?
He's
yet?
working on it. Sorry.
Yeah, I know
it's not out
getting,
yet.
I know it's getting really close. So
Yeah.
the
Which has solved the cloth number problem.
yeah, so the TNR tape that is already changing so many people's racing and saving of their kits, not tearing holes in their kit, is going to be even better.
Yeah. Yeah.
I can't wait. I can't wait to see that. So if you're interested, get over to tnrtape.com. You can buy, I think, a 10-pack, a 2-pack. Check it out. If you see us at races, we have samples we can give you to try so you can see if you'll like it.
And
we
you will.
love this stuff, and you will like it. Give it. You might have to try it a couple times. Sometimes people get it a little wrong the first time and have to this is why.
We'll
once
help you, though.
get
We'll
it
tell you
is
how to do it.
Game changing, man.
Yeah.
Game changing. So
And use the
TNRtape.com.
hashtag. Go use the hashtag TNR twirl off when you're taking the numbers off at the end.
Yes.
I know the New Jersey Cyclocross Juniors Project. They've been doing some really cool stuff.
So funny.
Tyler
so funny.
Cloutier, the Texar Canadian, is
Tyler
doing
and
some cool
Sonny
stuff. And
Gilbert.
Sonny, I almost think that's going to come to blows. By the end of this season, the two of them is going to be a wrestle-off to see who can get each other's number off or something. It starts out friendly. It gets cute. Next thing you know, it will
Someone loses an eye.
Mr. Voice of American Cyclocross will be narrating the two of them fighting it out in a pit somewhere.
That's funny.
Taking off numbers.
So get over, check it out, tnrtape.com. If you want to send them an email, tell them you heard about it on Bike Shop CX, that's great. Or just post something of, either your TNR twirl off or just whatever. Just it's really cool stuff. They are a huge supporter of this sport. If you want to support this sport, one way you can simply do it is to go buy yourself some TNR tape, and you know they're doing really good things.
Yeah.
So
And buy either the Tyler Cloutier pack or
the Sonny Gilbert pack.
or
That's
both.
cool. Yeah, that helps them. They get money for that, so that's cool. Or if you don't want to do that, you can just buy the regular too. That's fine.
That's cool.
And check all that stuff out. So thank you for getting over there, and we love TNR Tape, and they're just great. We're very happy to have them. So
You know what people don't ask after you crash when you have TNR tape?
what?
Have you had your tetanus shot?
You don't have to worry about
You
that
don't have
at
to
all.
worry about getting stabbed by pins.
Nope.
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 You know
Not
what?
at all.
You know what else doesn't happen? You're not laying in the ER yelling, "Don't cut it off! Don't cut it off!" Maybe for the jersey, but
That's right.
they won't
So-
have to cut your number off.
No, it just comes off. So.
Indeed.
All right, TNR Tape, check it out. I think you'll like it. Let's talk about the World Cup week that we have going on, Mr. David Palin. Okay. The racing started, the racing started Friday. But before we got to tell this story that our friend
Flat Doug. Actually, not Flat Doug. Flat Doug traveled with me.
Flat Doug traveled with you.
With
and
me and Craig in the van.
if people haven't seen it, I have a lot of pictures of Flat Doug and several racers, including Katie Compton and Mark Legg,
Sonny Gilbert.
a bunch of different ones. Yeah,
Yeah.
so you can check those out. I think Doug has been retweeting those.
Somebody actually owes a picture with Doug.
Who's that?
I think somebody got a pair of, and I don't know if we'll spill the beans here, I guess.
Okay.
Somebody got a pair of cleats that was lent to them or given to them.
Yeah.
That said, oh, I'll pay you for those.
Yeah.
And you said to that person,
Okay,
hey.
so all right, we got to start at the beginning.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
We're jumping ahead a little bit, but this is so funny. We were obviously, it's pouring rain. I don't know how, what was it? It was something like 3 inches of rain.
In 3 minutes.
Or
so it seemed.
Yeah, I mean, it was just crazy.
Yeah.
So we're in the tent. Spencer's wife, Alex, was doing the single speed race, which she ended up getting third, by the way.
Right.
Very impressive. But she's waiting to start a race, and all of a sudden she looks at me and she's like, so I helped her out a little bit last year at this race.
Mm-hmm.
She had no support. I was there doing stuff, and I told her, hey, if you need anything, come by and I can say. And so I worked on her bike a little bit. So this year she's sitting there, but all of a sudden she looks at me and she's like, so she's familiar with the van and all that. So she looks at me, she's like, do you have any toe spikes in the van by any chance? Because I don't have any. I'm like, yes, I do. Actually, I think I do. So I'm like trotting up there. And as I'm trotting up there, the crew, Katerina Nash's crew, is walking, including Bill Scheiken, the photographer who's working for Cliff. And I don't know, Bill, he teased me about going to get the spikes or something, he thought I was talking about Alex Morton and
gotcha.
Doesn't Cannondale have any spikes or something like that. It was funny. And I'm like, well, yeah, I don't know, blah, blah, blah. And that, because I didn't but anyways, then he realizes it. And so I'm getting the spikes out. All of a sudden, I see this head come in the window. Do you by any chance have a second set of spikes? Because Katerina's stuff is all in Europe, and we need a set of spikes for her. Yeah. So I was like, for Katerina, anything.
Of course.
They wanted to buy them from me. I'm like, yeah, no, you're not buying them from me.
No.
I'm giving them to
you.
All
I ask is...
I said, all you got to do is have Katerina, whose tent was right next to ours,
Indeed.
right next to Flat Dog. Just have Katerina come over, snap a picture with Flat Dog, and we're even.
Mm-hmm.
So, are you curious then? Are the spikes that Katerina wore to win the World Cup, were they the spikes that were in my van?
Yeah, of course they were.
No, they weren't.
No, they weren't. Of course they weren't.
Because even though I gave, so what I had in the van was the full vampire spikes, which I think in those conditions, I don't know why you wouldn't want that, but some people don't like those for various reasons. They affect the way they click into the shoe or for whatever. So
there's a number of reasons.
They weren't her ideal spikes, I guess. So what they ended up doing was they traded those to somebody for another set of spikes that were like the ones that she was more familiar with.
Was like the Cobra spikes or something.
I don't know what she ended up with. But so if it wasn't for me, she wouldn't have had the first set of spikes to trade for the set of spikes that she actually used in the race to win the World Cup. So without me, Katerina would probably not have won.
Yeah, probably. We'll come to some more Bike Shop bump later in this episode, I'm sure.
But all right, Friday, one of the things I want to talk about is the Legends race.
Oh.
Okay. Don't get me wrong.
So we're going to talk about it in terms of everything was great.
Yeah.
Because it was so good, we can talk about some things that
need to be improved in our opinion.
In the future, sure.
In our opinion. They've put a row of kids
in the front.
In the second row. So there was a row of adults, which might be worse, then a row of kids, and then 500 adults.
Who's in that row of adults?
Jens Voigt was there. Voigt. I don't know who else was there. A bunch of
Jeremy Powers,
Jay Powell,
Timothy Johnson,
Tim Johnson. I don't know.
Yeah, there you go.
So
all the big names that everyone from row 3 through row 53 want to get up to race and ride with those people,
and take a picture while they're riding with and all that.
Exactly.
So between that group of people,
hungry to ride with that front row,
and that front row, is a group of 10 and 11-year-old kids.
One of which I have to throw in.
Not the smartest thing in the world.
One of which I have to throw in, dressed as a hot dog, was Arlo from the Ann Arbor Velo Club, who ended up on the Trek feed as Jens looked like he was trying to take a bite out of the hot dog.
Yeah, that
great
was
picture.
actually
It was a great picture. Arlo had a great smile on his face. Anyways.
That was very cool. But basically, these kids came within a hair's breadth of getting trampled. Some of them did go down, and only for the luck of having an intelligent adult stop, put their bike sideways in front of them so that people couldn't plow the kid over.
Yep.
Did that kid not get plowed over?
Yep. And that kid also was a Velo Club member.
Yes.
And that intelligent adult was the president, Lauren DeYoung, president of the Ann Arbor Velo
So
Club.
luckily, he sees this happen, is close enough that he can then, and he's a big guy, and he can like stop, put his bike sideways to create this barrier and force people to go around. Because, you know, like so many things like this, it's just turn your brain off. Yeah. I think the Legends race is great. It's a blast.
Yep.
Everybody has fun. I think it's great.
Or do two races.
Or do two races.
I mean, the kids appreciate the Legends at least as much, if not more, and to say, well, they're here, but you can't ride with them. Right? Do one lap with the kids and one lap with the adults instead of 2 laps with everybody getting crazy.
Maybe let the kids go out once everyone else has done 1 lap, and you let the kids filter out into the group or something. I don't know what the solution is, but this was very dangerous.
Yeah, and there was one, I'm not sure who it was, but someone like got a late start or something and came barreling through the start-finish straight.
Got a late start, decided they wanted to be up in that front line, I guess, with all those other guys that you mentioned. I'm not kidding you, he was coming by at least 25 miles an hour.
Yeah.
And there were also kids at the back of this group, realizes he's getting onto the transition of the grass, and wait, there's little kids right in front of me, and I'm full gas.
Yeah.
Locks up the brakes right as he gets onto the grass. Wheel slide. I mean, is an inch away from taking out this kid.
Yeah.
I mean, I swear, it was so close. And his mother. I was like, oh, my God. What are you doing?
Be a tough one to explain back at home.
That is just, come on, man. But
I know it's one of those things where I think maybe even USAC has to step up and get involved in this.
And I don't want to make it sound like I don't like the Legends race. I get it. I like the Legends race. It's something they should do. They do 2 of them. I wish they could do 3 of them, but I
think they should do that instead of the World Cup race.
I hope someone is looking at this with a little bit of an eye on safety and being like, you know what? That might have been a little bit too much. Maybe we should
and now,
throttle this back a little bit.
See, we can learn a lesson without anyone getting hurt.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
we dodged the bullet this time.
Exactly.
Let's learn the lesson.
Let's learn a lesson without someone having to get injured.
Right.
And make a few changes. So hopefully that will happen. Other than that, the Legends race is always fun. It's always great. And
now, we didn't do the Legends race.
I wish I could have enjoyed it a little more.
You're a little too stressed.
We didn't do it this year. I don't remember ever doing it.
No,
Did you
we
do
had
it?
talked about doing it. Remember, we were going to be like the Howard Cosell and the ABC sport coats and
we talked about a lot of things.
We did.
Yeah. So yeah, that didn't happen this year. We got to watch.
Maybe next year.
We got to
watch
instead.
and we had a blast.
C2 Friday.
Yeah.
A great day. I always like that day. And you want to give some results?
Let's go. Before we go to results.
Yeah.
Because I noticed you're getting kind of worked up. And I'm thinking, did you get enough sleep last night? What is it about you right now?
How would I know if I got enough sleep, Mr. David
Whoop,
Palin?
whoop!
Tell us about Whoop.
Whoop, as in whoop.com. Whoop is it's an analysis tool that you use with hardware that they provide for free that monitors your heart rate 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
That's pretty cool.
That is cool. It has an external battery recharger that you charge the unit, slip it on top of the your wrist-worn tool, and it will recharge the battery while you sleep or while you do anything and have it on there. They do analysis of heart rate variability.
Yeah, they basically it's a training aid for the monitors, helps you track and monitor your rest, not just your workouts.
Right.
Because that's important, but also so is your rest. So it's kind of looking at it a slightly different way and way to get even more information about your workouts and stuff. Go check it out, whoop.com. What's the code word?
Use the code word Bike Shop.
Bike Shop. When you buy it, you get a discount on your
15% for your 12 or 18-month membership.
12 or 18-month membership, and I think you'll dig it. It's pretty cool information. So
Indeed.
There you go. All right, let's do the C2 Friday women's race. Yolanda Neff, of course, wins 45-33. She's 21 seconds ahead of Clara Hansinger, who got second, and Caroline Mani, who got third. Rebecca Faringer for the U.S. got seventh.
Yes. Who was the first American?
The first American was Clara Hansinger in the women's race.
She had quite a race. I've been looking back at some of her stuff, man. If you think of Clara Hansinger, I always picture her with a muddy face. Because
Right.
she really excels. Remember, it was Indy last 2 years ago now that she excelled.
Yep.
And then at Jingle Cross,
Yep.
she excelled in the mud.
Yep.
And again here, although the Friday race wasn't a muddy race,
Yeah.
but we'll talk about her, I'm sure, again on Sunday. What a performance from this young lady.
Yeah, so all the way around, it was just a great race. Lucia Gonzalez Blanco in fourth place, Ellen Van Looy in fifth place, Jen Jackson in sixth place. Jen Jackson is just putting together. It's so cool to see her at the races. I just love that she's there. And we're getting more Canadians down here doing some of these races, like, any of the UCI races.
Yeah, everyone's following Tyler Cloutier's lead. They say if he can race down here.
If Tyler can do it.
And Michael Vandenham.
Speaking of Tyler Hamilton. Wow.
Whoa. Into the Wayback Machine.
Speaking of Tyler Cloutier, let's talk men's results. For the men that same day, Lauren Sweek got first. Nicholas Kleppa got second. Felipe Orts
Loret.
got third.
The worst retirement ever.
The worst retirement. Steve Chanel, yep, got fourth. Corne Van Kessel fifth. First American Stephen Hyde in sixth. That and then was Kerry Werner got 11th, and Drew Dillman was 14th, and Tobin was 16th. Good ride for Tobin, actually. Starting to see a little bit of the old Tobin.
Yeah.
It's getting there.
Or the young Tobin.
Yeah, it's getting there. I mean, you can see, obviously, he's, finishing 16th in this race. Isn't that what he would have done a few years ago?
True.
But I think watching him, you can start to see that it's starting to come together. So
yeah, I have high hopes for Tobin for this year.
Yep. Friend of the show, Brian Motter in 18th, and also big friend of the show, Alex Morton in 19th, the current junior national champion.
Indeed.
Even though he's not a junior anymore.
And current pride of Michigan. Sorry, JB.
Current pride of Michigan. So, all right. Anything else? We just wanted to give quick results to talk about that since we were there and got to watch this race. So, there you go.
I mean, how cool is it that we can talk about a C2 in that dismissive way of, we just want to talk about it because it also happened this weekend.
Yeah,
right. It's kind of cool.
Yeah, awesome. There was a juniors race. Thibaut Nice just crushed that, wins by like 11 seconds over Nick Carter. Nick Carter put together a strong weekend.
I was impressed by what we saw out of Nick Carter. I know I had mentioned it to you while we were on the course.
Yeah. He's
looking very, very strong.
Yeah, that's really cool to see. Awesome to see. And it was interesting that Alex is too old to run. On Sunday, Nick and Thibaut, they were all in the Cat 1, I think, race with Alex and that. So Nick Carter raced really well in that race as well, as did Thibaut Nice, who goes on to win that one too. So really cool stuff. Yeah, go ahead.
We have to talk about 8th place here.
8th place.
Because this is a kid that, in my mind, is a kid. And no longer, similar to little Alex Morton, who raced, Matt Anthony at 13, 12 years old, and I always remember him as little Alex Morton. Lucas Stairwald.
Yeah, got 8th place.
We've talked about him before, and we've talked about him kind of as a shout-out and local guy. This kid is the real deal.
17 years old, racing age. He's going to be good. I mean,
he is good now. He's going to be good and better.
Was on the U.S. Worlds team last year. Yep.
Helen 100.
Uh-huh.
And with junior women coming.
Yes. Lexi.
Sorry, Lucas. Lexi Steerwalt is a name you're going to be hearing more and more because we're going to be saying it more and more.
Right. So you're going to be
you're going to be hearing it, I promise.
Yeah.
But
His
Lexi
sister,
Steerwalt
Lexi,
is super strong as well. So the men and women of the Midwest, whether it's the OVCX, perhaps one of the best series in the country.
Perhaps.
It
is the best series in the country.
We're developing some really great talent here in the Midwest, and it's great to see it. Whether it's Midwest Devo, Lionhearts, Revo Devo.
Yeah.
I'm gonna blow the horn. Ann Arbor Velo Club.
How many kids did you send?
13 kids.
That's awesome.
At
first year, second
year.
Second year.
Last year we had 4 kids.
Yeah.
This year we had 13 kids.
That's awesome. All right, so we didn't tell the story.
Tell the story
that we were going to
Which
tell.
one?
About
the Friday story.
About Doug.
The Friday story about Doug.
Yeah, so we're
not
there.
Flat Doug.
We're
Round Doug.
We kind of got sidetracked with Flat Doug. We're there. We're at the course, and our good buddy Doug Knieper comes up.
Yeah.
And says, "You're not going to believe what happened to me."
No.
And you're not going to believe.
No.
Doug, go ahead.
So he gets in Friday. Drives up to the Holiday Inn or whatever hotel he's at.
Right.
And he's pulling. He has 2 bikes, luggage.
Because he was racing.
He was planning to race 2 races, right?
Yeah, awesome.
He's pulling his stuff out of the car, and someone comes up to him in a Telenet Polo. Like, oh, do you need a hand?
Do you need a hand? Do you want me to?
You want me to help you
carry
take
one
some
of those
stuff
bikes
in?
or some of your stuff in?
Helps him take all his stuff into the hotel, and Evil doesn't know who it is, but of course calls PT and says, "Hey, PT Barnum, JB Hancock, someone with a Telenet, not Fidea any longer, but a Telenet Polo was helping me out. Who is this guy?" And he describes it to him.
Yeah.
Go ahead, tell us who it was.
Lars van der Haar.
Lars van der Haar.
Lars van der Haar is down in the parking lot of the Holiday Inn helping people with their luggage and their bikes.
He is.
I mean,
we've talked about him before about Cross Vegas and how he's reached out to us before.
I understand that's not why he was there. He just happened to be there. But,
he wasn't making extra money as a bellhop.
Has the presence of mind to be like, "Hey, man, do you need me to help?
Yeah.
Carry some stuff." What an awesome
what a
story.
Cool dude.
What a cool dude. He is a cool dude.
That's gnarly, man.
Yeah, Lars, always one of our favorites, and just what an awesome story.
What a great story. So, Lars, we don't know if you're a viewer yet, but we still indeed are big fans of Lars van der Haar.
That's right.
And congratulations on your wedding, by the way.
That's right. All right. So, all right, Mr. David Palin, we go on to Saturday. Saturday's not a big racing day at the Waterloo World Cup.
No, it's not.
It's more of the amateur stuff, some USAC stuff, no UCI stuff is basically it. It's still a great day. Oh, it's so much fun.
So much fun.
In a lot of ways, Saturday is one of the more fun days to be there because everything is so casual. Everyone's a little bit calmer. Everybody's got time to do stuff. This is when we made some recordings. So speaking of some recordings, I'm standing there.
You are.
And we mentioned this in the recording. I'm standing there talking to one of the ladies that did the Helen 100 race. And we're talking about her bike, and she was showing me some stuff. And this guy walks up who I kind of recognized. I thought, wait a minute. And he was in telling her, I hadn't noticed this, but he's like, do you have clinchers or tubulars? And she's like, clinchers.
Yeah.
And he's like, so I work for Challenge Tire, and I just want to let you know that your tires are on backwards.
Yeah.
The tread's supposed to go the other way. And she's like, oh, I didn't realize that. Thank you for telling me. And so I'm like,
let me help you.
I'm like, are you Steph Wyman?
You didn't realize it was Steph.
I didn't at first.
That's funny.
He looks so much different. I don't know why I didn't recognize him. He's like, yeah. I'm like, oh my. He's like, Helen's right over there. And Helen's standing down by the wall. So I had missed, unfortunately, one of the things I wanted to see on Saturday was the Helen 100 race.
You didn't see the Helen 100?
Well, because I was recording with Katie Compton and Mark Legg, and it got delayed, and a lot of stuff happened. We did it inside the Trek World headquarters, and we had to get name badges, and they got delayed because of something else they had to
change
do.
the plugs on the car or something.
I mean, it was nobody's fault. It just everything just took so much longer than it would have normally, and so I just missed it. So unfortunately, I missed that. But I did get to talk to Helen about it.
Yeah,
and I got to talk to Steph about some tires.
I was jealous. You got to sit down with them, and I was just standing there, just waiting to jump in.
I know.
I spoke with Helen personally, and
Yeah.
we had a long discussion with Steph about some local racing things and
Cool.
some stuff that may or may not be happening in the future.
Yeah. So, are you ready to hear that?
I'd love to hear that.
All right, here we go. All right, here on Bike Shop CX, I'm here with Helen Wyman. Helen, how are you doing today?
I'm good, thank you very much.
We had a great race here today, one of the Helen 100 series. How did it go?
It was absolutely amazing. I was really excited to see this race because in America, I don't think you've seen junior girls race each other apart from at nationals. So for me, it was really mega. And there were 27 girls. And I know Jessie Anthony spoke to some of the juniors and said, you should get in this race rather than the C2 because you'll get really good competition and you'll get to see where you are on a national level.
And these are your peers, right?
Yeah.
That's
and
great.
it was really, really exciting. And there was really good battles at the start of the race, and then there was battles for second and third and fourth and fifth. And it was 14, 15, 16, 17-year-old racing age.
Mm-hmm.
So it covered two categories, but those girls were brilliant.
And so, tell the listeners, why is it important that we collect all the top talent together and get them racing together in the same race rather than, I mean, I know a lot of these girls will race locally, but a lot of times they're the best one and they ride away from other riders. But when you get everybody together, it kind of multiplies the learning that's going on, right?
I think it's really important for a couple of levels, for a couple of reasons. I think it's really important that you get to race your peers because that is your racing age group and your racing category. And obviously, junior women is a brand new category for this year's the first ever World Championships. And so for these girls to learn a little bit about each other is really important. But I also think it's really important because when you see somebody that you can relate to doing something that you can't, it spurs you on to do that. And I've seen it with the young girls that I work with on the Expersa team. We have 2 under 23s, 3 under 23s and a 24-year-old. And when one of them can't do something that the others can, it really makes them work hard for it. And when one of them does it, the other 3 have to do it or they get angry at themselves. So for me, I think it's really important that you see, Bridget was jumping the barriers and she was the only one in that race jumping the barriers. But the other girls have seen that now. And the other girls are going to be thinking, well, if I want to get to the top level, I need to go away and learn how to do that.
That's a skill I need to develop, yeah.
And so for me, it's really important that they do get to race each other.
That's great. And so this is the Helen 100. Can you explain how that works to us?
Well, originally it was set up because I wanted to pay for 100 under 23 girls to race national championships in Britain. And so that's what the idea of 100 was. And we went to the national champs 2 years ago, and the women's elite category was on its own for the first time. And the under 23s and juniors were a separate race. And we saw that the elite women was quite not a weak field, but it was a small field. And so for me, I thought, well, how do you make that bigger? And it's not putting money into elite women. To me, it's keeping the juniors in the sport. And it's because the under 14s was a big race. There was 60 girls or something. So how do we keep those to the elite level? And when you look into research and things, it's the junior girls, which is in any. So for my definition of junior girls is 17, 18. So you look in any sport, it's the 17 to 18-year-olds are the ones that actually leave sport. And for many, many different reasons. But we need to try and hold those girls at that point in time so that they stay to under 23 and then elite. So we set up a crowdfund and we were able to fund actually 125 women. Every under 23 rider at nationals in our country was funded. So it was really good, and we got some extra donations from the 5th floor and the women at the 5th floor, and they paid for the first ever junior women's race in Luneau. Wow. And that was at the DVV series, so a massive, massive race. We had 48 girls there from 12 different countries, and that was
That's
gives
awesome.
me goosebumps thinking about it. It was such a great race.
So cool. And so are you happy with the way that's all progressing, and do you see where is it going, do you think?
I'm not entirely happy with the way that the sport is progressing from the regulation side for the junior girls, but I'm doing something about it. So I've been able to put on, with the help of Trek, we were able to put this one on here today, and then we have another 4 races over Christmas time, which are announced on the beginning of October, and they're at the DVV series as well. And so the DVV series will be taking that forward, and it's not regulation at the UCI to have a junior women's race until 2022, I think.
I think you're right, yes.
So, yeah, the DVV will be having a junior series this year. They will be having, next year it's a category that you can have.
Mm-hmm.
So they will be having them next year, and then they'll be 2 years ahead of the UCI as well. But you've got to get big organisations to do that with you, to work alongside you, because otherwise you're kind of pushing up against lots of brick walls. But so I'm really happy that these guys are doing that too.
Yeah, I think we're going to see, I know there's some race directors in the U.S. that would have liked to have those junior girl races but have not been able to. So I think it's going to be a really big thing. If people are like interested in contributing to the Helen 100 idea, what's the best way they can do it?
They can contact me, and I don't actually have a crowdfund currently.
Okay.
We're looking at some other sources of funding to try to promote more cross clinics and things like that. I did one in the UK for, we had 33 girls under 18, and that was really, really good. And we're going to run another one of those in November, but I'm looking to try and expand that, but we're currently working on funding for that.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you have ideas, if you have things that you want me to look into with the Helen 100, then just, send me a mail.
Okay. Right off the website, the Helen,
Yep.
your website? Okay.
Yep.
All right. Well, hey, is there anything else you want to tell us about the Helen 100 or anything we didn't cover?
Well, I've made another one, so
Yeah.
it could be Helen 101.
You're not too excited about that, are you?
Yeah.
That was like that news. It was like great. The whole internet lit up when you guys posted that.
Well, I don't even know if it's a girl. So
yeah, right.
I mean, I kind of hope it is, because Steph has so much experience with 16 to 20-year-old women and from teams over the years. It's like we're going to be legend at that when we get to that age. But boys, we're like, oh, I don't know.
I don't know what
boys.
to do. They just take care of themselves, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, right. Yeah, well, congratulations on that, by the way. Yeah, that was just awesome news. So thank you for spending some time with us, and best of luck, and we'll stay in touch.
Thank you very much.
All right. Well, now we're here with Steph Wyman. Steph, how's it going today?
All good. That was a great morning out there watching the Helen 100 juniors.
And the reason we're here at the Trek cyclocross race, and the reason why we even ran into each other, is because you came up to one of the young girl riders and was like, "Hey, I'm just letting you know your treads are backwards."
Yeah, absolutely. It's I always check if they're tubulars or clinchers, because if they're tubulars, you can crush hearts. So as long as it's clinchers, I'll tell them if they're mounted the wrong way, and I'll even help them if they want.
It used to be easier to fix before disc brakes too, because the front you could just spin around.
Yeah, absolutely.
But now you can't even do that.
Yeah, you have to do the glue test first. But no, it's great to see so many riders out here with really good equipment. So many manufacturers are now making really good small frame sizes, 700C wheels. So the young riders and smaller riders are getting the benefit of the really top equipment. So yeah, it's nice to see.
And so, just so people know, the tire goes on with the base of the Y pointing forward.
Yeah, so the long arm of the Y points forward. So on all of our cross treads, so the outside. You get that on the baby Limas, the chicane, and the Limas, so that always points forward.
That's right. So, looking at the conditions today, tread, what are you thinking?
I think North American riders will probably go for the chicane.
Okay.
And
it's pretty dry right now.
Yeah, it's very dry out there, and very little elevation, really. So, it's definitely the tread of choice there. And I think the European riders would ride the dune. Really, you'll see the difference between the style of riding between Europeans and the North Americans. The North Americans are a lot more aggressive in the way that they turn, and they go from a straight line to full lean over, and
quickly.
Absolutely. And European riders are far more into a full round transition,
more of a flowy,
So the dune, although it's got a slightly raised outside, it's got a lot more hookup than you think.
I have dunes on one of my bikes right now, and it's awesome. I love it.
Yeah,
I mean, for the riding I do don't anything like this, but yeah, it's a great tire.
Yeah, it's definitely a lot more versatile than people first give it credit for, but certainly our partnered athletes out in North America tend to load up on the chicanes and are a bit light on the dunes.
What else is going on at Challenge? I know they've just released handmade tubeless, right?
Yeah, so we've got handmade tubeless ready for the road and gravel. So it gives people their tan wall option, but 260 to 300 TPI, and depending on the tyre, and right through the gravel range as well. We just launched that at Eurobike, and we've also got tubeless tubulars for gravel. It sounds like a strange concept for people, but what it's doing is putting a latex liner on the inside of the tubular, so when you're in a gravel race, you can actually plug that tyre.
Yes.
So a lot of people...
and I think sealant just kind of works better in general in those too, right? They're going to be sealant
Yeah,
too,
absolutely,
right?
with sealant. And but you can plug them, meaning you can get through those races. And, gravel racing is largely North American still. It's coming a lot more into Europe. We're seeing it grow. But these shorter sprint style North American races, perhaps like Paris to Ancaster, rather than your Dirty Kansas, these are events where you can really get a performance benefit from that tire.
That's really cool. And those are out now, or they're coming?
They are, they're launched, and they will be in stores from November.
Okay, that sounds great.
So
I'm
ready
very
for the road
interested
and
in
gravel
that.
season.
Yeah. We have a 200-mile gravel, quote unquote, gravel race in Michigan, and it's becoming a big event. So hopefully we'll get some people on those for sure for that race. So awesome. Well, thanks for spending some time with us, Steph. It's been a pleasure. We'll talk to you again soon.
Cheers.
Thanks. All right, Mr. David Palin.
Yeah.
How was that?
That was so cool. They are two of the nicer
I just love
people
those guys.
in cyclocross.
Just awesome.
And congratulations on their expectations.
Yes, absolutely. So, Mr. David Palin, the other thing we've been mentioning a lot that we did do on Saturday mostly is sell socks.
I wouldn't say we did mostly.
No, most of the socks that we sold were on Saturday is
Gotcha.
what I'm saying. Again, because people had time to walk around and do other things. So.
And it wasn't pouring down rain.
And it wasn't pouring down rain. So, really fun. So that people know, we did not sell out. So we
did not.
do still have some socks available. I will have them at Cincy. I'm going to be in the vendor area at Cincy.
Psyched. I'll be on the...
You're going to be
don't
on the
approach
stage.
me while I'm announcing, maybe between races, but find Scott. He's in the van.
If you see David off the stage, well, no, don't do that either because you might be still be announcing. Come to where you see the Bike Shop CX Sprinter van.
For sure.
The tent will be set up there. And if you really want a pair of socks, we're nicknaming it. What is the nickname of our socks, Mr. Dave Palin?
Bikes and Mikes.
Bikes and Mikes. They got the microphones on them. Very cool. We did sell quite a few. I mean, it was very cool.
Yeah.
All the people that came up, and that was awesome. So, okay, the other thing, Mr. David Palin, we want to talk about, one of the things, and this is technically an ad, but it's also something I want to talk about. We want to talk about the Works Hydro Shot because if ever you needed a way to clean your bike, it was at one of these two races. Right?
Yep.
Between Jingle Cross and the torrential downpour that we got that basically, I don't remember if I said this or not, but Trek's entire compound at Jingle Cross got crushed.
Yes, we did talk about that.
The whole thing got crushed.
And
SRAM lost half of their compound at Waterloo for the same reason, just huge amounts of water dumping down. This obviously created a lot of mud and a lot of reason to need to clean your bike. So the Works Hydro Shot is amazing.
This is the first time, if I'm not mistaken, and I believe I'm accurate here, the first time that the power washers got full workout at Trek. Certainly since it's a World Cup.
Yeah, because that race has never been muddy, ever. It's always like this
even if
dry,
you get a little bit of
dusty,
rain, it just goes through it so quick.
Yeah, it just doesn't, you don't get mud. It's never been muddy. I've been going to this race for like 6 years or something like that, maybe 7 years. I don't even know. And it's never been muddy. It's always, you always get these fluffy particles of like corn husks, right? Because it's out in a cornfield. So you'd get this like pulverized, dried corn husks.
Yeah.
And that would be like in the air because it's just so dry and dusty. And this was the exact opposite of that.
Yeah, it was 180 degrees from that. And I'll tell you, we've talked about it before. The Works Hydro Shots, they are powerful enough to clean the bike without being so powerful to blow grease out of bearings and stuff. Still, don't point it directly at your bearings, but indeed it cleans your bikes. Here's the thing that we never really thought about, or I hadn't. I'm sure you did. You're a genius.
Yes.
You can't wash your racers in the power washers. They're just too powerful.
It
hurts. It hurts their ears. It blows some of their skin off. That's not cool.
No.
But the HydroShot is built to wash off your racers.
You can flick it over to sprinkle, and you can just sprinkle like water on anything, anybody or anything, whatever you. So
make sure they're covering their eyes or have safety glasses. I don't want to hear about the lawsuits.
So the HydroShot has the power to clean, but not to damage. 320 psi. It's 5 times more than a garden hose.
No matter how strong your thumb is.
No matter how strong that your thumb is on the end. Works is offering our listeners 15% off of all HydroShots and accessories. They even put together a bike cleaning kit for you guys to go check out. Go get on the Works, our special website, yourcleanbike.com. The bike cleaning kit is on there. You can buy as little or as much of it as you want. You can buy extra batteries. All that stuff you can get on the special website that they made for us, yourcleanbike.com. Enter the promo code CLEANBIKE, and you'll get 15% off your HydroShot items. That's YOURCLEANBIKE.com. Enter the code CLEANBIKE at checkout. And I know it works because I've used it.
I've used it.
And
hope
have
you used a rotating brush yet?
I have not, but I'm about to use that because I need to clean the windshield on my van.
Yeah.
From all the bugs, because it's just loaded with bugs. So that I'm going to use that.
They also have a squeegee.
Oh, I don't have that.
A squeegee attachment. I don't have that. It's not part of the bike cleaning one, but they do have that.
All right, Mr. David Palin.
Yes, sir.
We have just been joined by the of the April CX Challenge. April. Today is October 1st.
So that's 6 months.
6 months, man, it took us to get with Matt. Matt Henderson is on the line.
Matt was good enough. I'm sorry to step on your toes there, Matt, but Matt was good enough.
No, he's not. He does it all the time.
He's not good enough? Oh, I'm not sorry. That's true.
Sorry.
But Matt was good enough to be really patient with us, and we wanted to do it in a way that made sense for Matt as well as for us. Yeah. So thank you for your patience, Matt, and welcome to Bike Shop CX.
Hey, thanks, guys. Thanks for having me on.
Let's start with this, Matt. Are you ready?
I am ready.
What are you working on?
Oh, boy. Well, we just finished up our booking season. As some people may know, I do work on the other side of the curtain in our wonderful industry.
Yes. Tell people what booking season means.
Okay, well, it's kind of like bike shops are buying for next year. Right. So I'm tasked then with selling in all the wonderful bicycles and gear and equipment that all of our listeners are going to be looking at in the bike shops for the next 9 months.
Any particular type of bicycle or brand of bicycle?
Yeah, I was going to say, do you want to mention who you do this for? It's up
to
you.
Yeah. So this year I actually I switched jobs. I used to work for Shimano. Mm-hmm. But I did start in January with Giant Bicycles USA, so I'm selling Giant and Live and Momentum bikes of all sorts of bikes. So
nice.
Road, cross, mountain,
e-bikes. Hey, can't forget about those e-bikes.
Giant has 1 or 2 models that they sell, right?
Exactly. Being the global leader in manufacturing.
Right.
Yeah. We have a couple bikes. So.
Yeah. So I'm sorry. Go ahead. What? And you're working on that.
So, anyways, yeah. So I'm actually quite happy. Last night I had a couple of drinks. Yesterday was our final day of booking. And,
that's got to be a relief.
Yeah, it was great. It was actually really nice. And,
it's like an accountant at once tax day is done.
Yeah.
You're just
exactly.
like,
Yeah. And if anyone knows, I'm sure a lot of people in the industry are listening to this show, but dealing with some bike shops can be easier and harder than others.
Some are a little more challenging.
Yeah, it's like wrangling cats, basically. But yeah,
wait till midnight on the last day, right?
Oh, of course. Yeah, I was already dealing with that this morning, but yeah, that's all done. All of our 2020 bikes are in place in the Chicagoland area. So
cool.
So that's done, and then a couple more weeks here of like really heavy hours and heavy work for me. I am transitioning from a selling mode into demo. So we have our Live and Giant demo rigs coming through Chicago for the next 3 weeks. They will be down at Brown County Epic as well. That's in a couple weeks too. So yeah, I'm just dealing with getting our demo rigs all set up at some trail networks that we have here in the Chicagoland area. And I mean, that could be just as challenging, solidifying all the paperwork and insurance needs. And, you're dealing with, the other kind of complexities of, counties and cities and that kind of thing. So
what's
we're doing
new
that.
for 2020? What should our viewers be expecting? What can you tell us? Tell us all the embargoed information first.
What
can you tell us that's no longer under embargo?
No, you know what? We actually we're releasing bikes. I think everything is pretty much released now. I think a couple of the big key SKUs for us next year are going to be our kind of entry to intermediate level road bikes. The Avail, which is the Live women's model, and then Giant has the Contend. So what we're doing with those models is bringing the how do I say it? Just like the any road features to that bike. So we're speccing it with bigger tires, giving it clearance up to 38. So it's really kind of bringing that like gravel,
almost
gravel. Any road, bike to our consumers that are just getting into the sport, or transitioning from their Campagnolo equipped 23 size tire bikes into our kind of more modern current style. So
that's cool.
That sounds awesome, man.
So, cool. I'm actually really stoked. So coming from Shimano, this is actually my first, not really first, but I'm actually getting quite a bit of time riding SRAM equipment. Got to show some love there. That's good stuff. I'm riding on our new TCX, the cross bike, with SRAM. Let me see if I say this right. SRAM Force Axis.
Nice.
Okay. Which SRAM had a whole bunch of at Waterloo.
I saw it everywhere.
You could go play with it, and they had the little, the setup so you could spin the crank and shift and hold the shifter and watch it shift and flick it one at a time and see how it went. So that was cool.
They had a really nice setup there. So I always love.
Did you see that half of it got destroyed though on
half
Sunday?
of the setup, not half of the stuff?
Half the setup, yeah.
Well, I saw a bunch of people's tents got caved in, and it was a mess on Sunday. And I know that we all were supposed to meet on Sunday.
Right.
And Scott, you took off. I didn't even see you on Sunday, but I was dealing with my own flooded out.
Because you were camping,
mess.
right?
I was camping.
Oh man!
Oh, no.
It was so. It was a mess. I have some pictures that I wanted to post up maybe later,
because
but it's
like I was thinking, because I was getting sick again, right? And I'm like, we just talked about this. I can't stand in this water for a day, right? I won't feel good. But I was like, all right, I'm gonna go to the course so that we can meet Matt, right? So we can do this recording. But then we ended up being so late, we thought we missed you, but come to find out, you never made it either. You thought you missed us.
Yeah.
And I ended up just going home. So the whole thing was just a washout.
It was,
Sunday.
yeah.
But that's fine. At least it happened to both of us.
So I ended up, I got back to the campsite kind of late. We went out to Madison on Saturday night and had a couple of drinks, and it was still dry at that point. And I came back to the campsite. It was probably 10:30 or 11, and I just made the decision to break camp then. So I kind of broke it all down when it was still dry. But, it took me a couple hours. And I ended up waking up in the car at about 4:30 in the morning with a little sprinkle of rain on my head. And then all of a sudden the deluge just came down. Man. Yeah.
It was crazy.
So I came crawling out of my car at, 7:30 or 8 o'clock in the morning and just looking around at the havoc in the campsite. Super glad that I took everything down. But
I bet.
It was, and Scott, you were traveling for a couple of weeks too. It was, that
was the thing. Even though I was sick, that was my 10th day away from home, right? And in the van, and I was just like, and I'm starting to get chills and feeling crappy again. I'm like, I'm calling it. I know it's a World Cup, but I cannot sit here and just be soaked. So
Well, when you trade out wet clothes for less wet clothes, it's tough.
So yeah, let's talk more about Sunday at Waterloo. Like we said, we've mentioned the conditions. We've mentioned that, man.
We set the we're like the warm up band for you, man.
Right,
we're here for you.
How many years have you been going to Waterloo?
So I think this year, I think it's only my third year going up there to trek.
We were just saying how it's never wet there. Never been wet before.
Yeah, and I always tell people when anyone ever asked, I mean, I've always experienced it super fast and very dry and very hot.
Yeah.
Which, Friday proved to be that.
That was, yeah. And again, tell everybody what you race, too, what category and stuff.
So I'm just a medaling Cat 3 rider, stuck right in the middle of a lot of really fast guys. So it's always fun describing to family and friends kind of like that aren't, they're not super well informed of what cyclocross is, or they're just watching me and looking at my pictures. But whenever I try to explain to them, that I'm in the middle of, 3,000 other guys in the country. So yeah, I'm a Cat 3. I think this year I was going to try to race the 60-minute race down here in Chicago with the 1s, 2s, and just kind of work myself up from there.
So, I got a question for you. Speaking of Chicago, I know you raced the Chicago Cross Cup a lot. Do you know anything? What happened this weekend? I don't think you were there, were you?
I sat this weekend out. It was a family weekend for me after, again, 3 weeks on the road. I was racing Alma GP.
Right.
Thank you for that.
Jingle and Trek. So I sat this weekend out, just kind of recovering a bit more, and my sister was having a little wedding ceremony back home. So I just kind of sat this weekend out, recover the body. The bikes were not ready to ride. I found that out today. But yeah, the Chicago Cross Cup got rained out. Once again, we're dealing with city, which can be challenging at times.
Right.
So the original park that it was going to be at was in a kind of a river flood zone. So that always has a tendency to flood out. But so that was completely awash. And then I think 2 or 3 days prior to Sunday, Triple X Racing, who is the promoter here, they found they actually went back to one of our tracks that is a defunct golf course.
Okay.
Which I hope that we can now kind of go back to. The golf course is now closed down, but let me see if I remember the name of it. Indian Lakes Resort here in Bloomingdale. So they went back there really last minute, and
I think they said 72 hours.
Yeah, it was. I mean, it was like on Friday we were all getting tweets and change of address and don't park here kind of thing.
Right.
But
so that is just testament, in my opinion, to how amazing that series is. And I mean, the teamwork,
and the community there,
the community and the teamwork it takes to do that in 72 hours is ridiculous.
Well,
I mean, so the fact that you can pull that off, that's amazing.
Yeah, I mean, the community down here is huge. Everyone is really well kind of connected, and all the teams really communicate well.
Yeah.
So if some people, probably raced in Chicago before, but we have a bunch of teams down here, and each of them kind of take a weekend and do their home track. And so it was a kind of a testament to Triple X again, just finding space, and they made it happen, and it was like seriously all-time conditions. So I know some people were it took them actually by surprise, I think.
Right.
Had I raced this weekend, I feel like it would have been pretty good. I mean, just coming from Trek last weekend and then Jingle the weekend before, having a bunch of experience already riding in slop. It was a lot of running and long grass and just mud like kind of over your boots. So
yeah. All right, so this is a kind of a topic we want to talk about because we experienced this at Waterloo. And I want to talk about the muddy races a little bit. And I know Mr. David Palin's going to disagree with me. I don't know what stance you're going to take, Matt. But when we get races this muddy, I know it's cool. Everybody's like, oh, finally, cyclocross weather, blah, blah, blah. But I think you could go back to Louisville Nationals last year too. When it's this muddy, when it's so muddy, in my opinion, the racing isn't quite as good to watch. You get about 10 or 15 minutes where you're like, oh my God, this is really cool. And when everybody's together, and then it kind of spreads out and it's a bunch of people riding around in the mud. And so I would argue that the ideal thing for cyclocross is to have muddy sections, right, that are separated by places where you can still see racing tactics and there's still racing strategy going on, rather than complete washouts. I mean, the complete washouts are fun every once in a while, I guess, but the complete washouts after 10 or 15 minutes, for me, tend to be a little bit less spectator-friendly. What do you guys think? David, go first.
Okay, so Houston Astrodome ruined football and baseball. Let's be honest, right? AstroTurf, foreign substances. It's not baseball. It'd be like you might as well use aluminum bats, right?
Sure.
So
and wiffle balls.
And wiffle balls. It has to be that cyclocross weather is the weather in which you race cyclocross.
Well, I
no
agree
matter
with that.
The conditions.
I agree
so,
with that.
Yes, sometimes it's going to be terribly muddy.
I agree.
And I mean, so there's other pieces of this, right? There is the competition aspect, and you know my point on this is it will favor people that have really good mountain bike skills. I think we may have seen that at Louisville when we talked about Louisville with some of the moves that some people with some mountain bike experience could put on others.
Sure.
So that's one part of it. Mm-hmm. The other part of it is marketing. Marketing is important. It's a sport, but it also we have to do a better job of marketing it to the public. And the pictures that we got from Trek of the men and the women after they came across the line, and some of the work of Gavin Gold, I think. Right? Some of these guys are getting these great shots that really sell a compelling story of what cyclocross is. And who doesn't want to go see kids playing in the mud? Right?
Yeah.
So that's how we sell it to the audience. Is it as highly, is it about the speed of the racing and the back and forth? We did see that to a large extent in the men's race this time. Interestingly, not the women's race.
But I would agree with you. That is true a little bit. I thought the Iserbeat tone battle was actually kind of fun to watch.
It was fun to watch.
Yeah.
So it wasn't a matter of, Iserbeat or for that matter, TNR has all this power, rides away from the field and does victory laps for 5, 6, 7 laps. It did result in very long lap times, slow lap times, which resulted in perhaps a shortened women's race that shouldn't have been shortened.
Okay, but I don't disagree with anything that you're saying.
Good.
I'm just saying.
Case closed. I win. Go ahead, Matt. You can agree with me now.
I think muddy races are not as fun to watch. That's all I'm saying. I agree with all you're saying. They have, great pictures.
I'll tell you what.
As a fan, though, if I'm going to a race and it's that muddy, it's less fun to watch, is all I'm saying.
If you're going to a race, it can be less fun because you're standing in the rain.
Yeah.
But once we're on TV...
Stop him, Matt. Go.
Well, we're talking about racing in the mud and then racing in dry. So it's two different. It's definitely two different tactics that are being used. When it's so muddy, you're just looking at individuals like the smallest of moves and technical ability. Obviously, needs to be a little bit higher than that high pace, super fast race.
Right.
So, it's harder. I think it's harder to watch those moves live. When I watched it on television just a couple days ago, it looked completely different on TV as well. And I think that's something to be said. Sure. But, there has been quite a bit of debate recently on the social media blogospheres out there of, what if it's too muddy, it's
and that's kind of what I'm saying is I think you can get to the point where the amount of mud decreases from the racing strategy and the racing tactics a little bit. I'm not complaining, and here's the thing: we'll get emails, people saying I'm complaining about mud. I'm not complaining about mud. It's all good.
We have a Works Hydro shot. You don't need to complain about mud anymore.
The worst cyclocross race is still really fun to watch, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying, it sucks, I hate it. I'm just saying I like when there's a little bit less mud and a little bit more racing tactics. So there you go.
Yeah, it was really hard once you get a gap, too. It's like you're just working on keeping that gap, and it's ultra hard to even make up ground. you're just watching for someone in front of you to make a mistake or have a mechanical. And I tend to prefer the mud because that slows the pointy end of the race down for me, mid-pack
it
finisher.
It brings it into your wheelhouse.
It does,
right?
It does, yeah. And then at that point, someone whose technical abilities are, a little bit better than some others, you can kind of pull a nice result out of some days. Yeah. So.
All right, so we're going to talk more about technical abilities as soon as we start talking about Eli Iserbyt, because that was just ridiculous. But before we do that, we're going to do the women's results first. So in the women's race, Katarina Nash is first. Yolanda Neff got second. Evie Richards third. Top American finisher for the women was Clara Hansinger in fourth. Rebecca Farringer was 10th. Courtney McFadden was 11th. Katie Keough 13th, which is a little bit of a surprise. Raylan Nuss is 18th. Katie Compton was down at 19th. And Ellen Noble was 20th. There's more Americans farther down, but that's as far as we're going to go. Did you guys see Katie Compton trying to get up that one hill?
I did.
It was just like,
sad.
Oh, my.
Yeah.
And it was amazing to me because the racers, women around her, just kind of running by her.
Yeah.
And it seemed that it almost looked like it was superimposed in there because what she was experiencing was so much dramatically worse than the women running by her.
Yeah. I don't know why. Katarina Nash, had those toe spikes. That's why she
won.
All right. So, yeah, Katie Compton had that trouble up the hill. Katie Keough, it was a little surprising. I mean, after how well she rode the World Cups in the U.S., winning one of them last year. But I think, obviously the best that we're going to see from Katie Keough is yet to come. We have not seen her best yet this season. Well, I think we're all sitting ready and anxious for it to happen. So, and I think we will see it. So,
yeah,
go ahead.
I think again, those conditions on Sunday it was really it slapped everyone in the face, and it was a very much a wake up call. And you're talking about how I don't know if this is where did Sunny finish on Sunday? I forget.
Sunny was 23.
Okay.
23. Yeah.
Well, then that kind of bunks the story then of long legs and running. But I was going to say, maybe Katie, the mud was hard to overcome. But
well, I actually talked to Sunny this week, and she's really looking forward to Fayetteville because she's like, I finally feel normal again after that crash at Go Cross. So I think even at Waterloo, she was still not completely recovered. And you know how it is. When you got in those muddy races and you got to throw down maximum watts to get through that mud, any injury is just magnified, right? So any lingering injury that you have left is just going to be magnified. So, but yeah, so we'll see. I'm curious to see how she's going to do this weekend too. So, all right. Anything else we want to talk about in this this women's race? Katarina Nash putting on a clinic.
Yolanda really, I was so amazed at just the power that she was putting down, and she was just picking them up and putting them down, and she was taking spots from so many people. Just powering by them and riding clean. I think, again, that's where that technical mountain bike background really comes in, and she's able to rail some of those turns, and that's, a couple of seconds gained here and there. So
here's the question.
Yeah, go ahead.
I understand that we changed with the World Cup points of how we're going to set the staging for the race. Should we have maybe, and especially when you have a 3-day weekend like this, the Friday race, you do some type of a shortened race, almost like they do in mountain bike with short track or whatever, to help set whether or not it is the way to set the staging, but to help someone like Yolanda, who gets relegated to the back because she hasn't been racing World Cups as much, and then she's racing at the front of this race instead of having to spend the first lap and a half of a 3-lap race fighting through traffic.
I think I like it being based on World Cup points. I think it should stay that way. I don't think you should get any kind of anything that affects your start other than World Cup points. That's my personal opinion. I think that's one of the things that they changed this year that is better. It keeps you can't get you can go points hunting all over the world, any place you want, and it can move you up in UCI races because of your UCI points. But once you get to a World Cup It's a different thing, and that starting grid should be set by World Cup points only, my opinion.
So your thinking is that it will, I don't know if force is the right word, encourage people to do more World Cup races so their standings will be better so they can start further in the grid? Or will it discourage people who maybe normally would come race a race or two, but now I got to start in the back of the field. Maybe I'll get hurt. I won't get the results I need or want.
No, I think it prevents people from getting too high of a starting position in a World Cup race because they've gotten points at races that maybe weren't as competitive around the world. They pick up a lot of points, and then they go to a World Cup and they got a front row or a second row start, and they end up finishing 54th. So that's what I think this eliminates, is it keeps the stronger riders in the World Cup seeding. It keeps the stronger riders at the front so that we can see better starts and better racing.
All right, and this is where we turn to Matt and say, Matt, you can go ahead and agree with me now.
Or
well,
not.
I was reading about this on Sunday at Trek, and I guess I didn't really realize it when we were all out at Jingle, the new staging. Did it matter? Because that was the first World Cup. So my question is, where is Matthew going to start at the next? So does that mean that he starts way back in the call-up? Or
with Matthew, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, I guess it really does. Yeah, no, it doesn't.
He can start the next day.
Yeah.
No, but the truth is it
As
goes
long as
back
the
to a year's worth of World Cups. So that's why you see Denise Betsema is now leading the World Cup.
Yeah. Let's not even go there. But, I mean, correct. It will. If you don't race in the World Cups, your starting position is going to be farther back. So I think I don't mind that because I think there's been a lot of so many instances where people are getting first and second or third row call-ups at World Cups and then finishing just way back or getting lapped or getting pulled, and it's like, come on, they shouldn't have been starting that fast. So I think that's really where it's focused. So
will this encourage more Euros to come over and ride in the U.S. World Cups, or is this still
maybe,
another?
Sure. I mean, if
I don't know
if the U.S. World Cup stick around,
the
talk
talk
is
about that. Yeah.
we'll only have one next year.
Trek,
that's the talk. But
Trek has a 2-year contract, so I think they're guaranteed one more year for sure. And I know Jingle really wants to be a World Cup, but it isn't 100% up to them. So we'll see what happens there. More information on this may be coming next week. We're going to do some little bit of dive on this next show, Mr. David Palin. So just be ready.
Indeed, I'm looking forward to it.
So, all right, well, let's talk about the men's results. You guys ready?
Ready.
Oh my God, Eli Iserbyt. I want to say he didn't win because he was the strongest rider. He was the strongest rider, but he was also the best rider. Did you guys see that one crazy off-camber drop where he kind of lost balance and was basically out of control for a second and just completely saved it? He was like coming off, his weight was shifted wrong, and his wheel goes the wrong way, and he's coming off, and he like just completely saves it, maintains his balance. I mean, the thing is, when you're watching it, it didn't look like that big of a deal.
Right.
And I think you can see, I actually saw another instance where very similar stuff happened, where he just makes a save, and you're just like, man, that could have gone so wrong so quickly, and he just makes it look effortless. So I would argue, I think he wins because he's the best rider in that race. There was no one touching him that day.
Mm-hmm. Definitely made less mistakes. That's
yeah. Go ahead, Matt. Go ahead. Tell us what you think.
Well, he rode so clean. A couple of bobbles here and there, but that was with everyone. But
right,
I mean, it really showed that he was tuned up, ready to ride. Super clean.
Yeah, I mean, I know he was targeting I think that was one of his goals, was he wanted to do well in the 2 U.S. World Cups. I mean, he was really targeting those two and wanted to come out. And you can't do much better than he did.
No, indeed. And coming down that factory hill, those 180 switchbacks, there were times where he kind of bobbled almost a little bit, but he never lost his cool. That's what I thought was really, really interesting, because you're chasing Toon Aerts, who has a little bit of a history at that event. Mm-hmm. Was last year's winner.
Right.
And he was losing time to Toon. Toon was riding away from him.
Mm-hmm.
And there was one or two instances in particular coming down that Trek Factory Hill where Eli was just off his bike and bouncing around.
I think he caught his pedal at the top of it on one lap.
Indeed, I think he did. Yeah. And in no time did he panic.
Yep.
In no time. And that's the key, especially in these muddy races. And that's why these muddy races are so much more fun to watch.
All right, so let's give some of the results. First place was Ellie Iserbeet. Second place, Tone Aerts. Third place, Michael Vanthernhout. Fourth place, Gianni Vermeersch. Also another battle that you didn't really get to see. You guys probably saw more of it at the race than I saw on the feed because we didn't really get to see much of that battle for third. But they kept kind of flashing back to it, and you'd see those two like shoulder to shoulder or one, switching places back and forth, and you're like, man, I bet that is a really good battle going on there for third place. But in the end, Michael Vandernoot gets it by a good, I think, almost 30 seconds that he got that and rolls across there for the third spot on that podium. Top American finisher in 17th place was Kerry Werner. In 18th place was Curtis White. Stephen Hyde 20th. None of the men. So this was another qualifying race, automatic bid for the men's worlds team. You had to be in the top 10. And like we just said, the closest one was Kerry Werner at 17th. So no automatic bid for any of the men here. We also had Gage Hecht was 27th. And I'm going to mention my buddy,
Michael Vandenham.
Dizzle Dillman. Well, Vandenham's my buddy too. Dizzle Dillman in 31st place after a horrendous start. What happened to Drew? I can't even remember.
He tore his rear derailleur off.
Had to run over half of a lap, and still in a World Cup finishes up more than 10 places from the bottom.
Yeah, he was, of course, dead last. People riding around him. He was running. That's one of the things about this course. Yes, the pit is about halfway between in the laps, but it's so close to the beginning of the start-finish line.
Yeah.
Once you go by it in the start, and then you rip a derailleur off, you have a long run.
Way to run.
I mean, kudos to Dizzle because he's someone that doesn't quit. He doesn't give up, man.
Dude. When he ripped his derailleur off at U23 Nationals in North Carolina, he had to do the same thing. He ran 3/4 of a lap or half a lap or whatever. He comes into the pit, and he comes in, and the derailleur's swinging on the chain, right?
Yeah.
As he comes in, he actually broke the frame. And he comes in, and I got his bike, and he comes, and he just kind of stops. I mean, at that point, you don't really need a lightning fast bike exchange, right?
Yeah.
And he comes in, and he stops, and he's like, "Oh, dude, my feet are killing me."
Yeah, I bet.
He just ran half a mile, and I'm like, "Dude, it's okay if you want to stop. You shouldn't hurt your feet, right?
Yeah,
He's like,
I can't stop.
He's like, nah, I'm gonna keep going. I'm like, all right, well, by the looks of it, you're gonna have to finish on this bike. He's like, yeah, that's cool. That's cool. So he hops on it and goes up and ends up 13th.
Yeah, the kid's strong. Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, he finishes above Jamie Driscoll, Tobin Ortenblad, Caleb Schwartz, Kevin Bradford, Cody Kaiser, Ross Elwood, and Eric Bruner. I mean, not bad.
Impressive.
Yeah. So, all right, well, that was the men's race. Anybody have anything else they want to say about the men's race?
I was just amazed. I was amazed that those guys were still hopping those planks. I mean, it was the run into them. It was still the mud was so deep, and that little bump, that hill stole all your speed.
Yeah.
But I mean, it was amazing. Cool. I'm still again these two World Cups back to back. Just watching them in person. When the Euros come over, I mean, they just lay the smackdown on any U.S. rider. I mean, that's to be expected, right? I mean, they live and breathe it, but it just shows once again that we are, we have a ways to go. We have a ways to go.
Yeah.
I like that little dip feature by the tree. You know what I'm talking about, Matt? There's that by the tree after the flyover. You come down after the barn flyover. You had a sweeping left turn, dip down and up.
Oh, that dip down into the lake.
Which became a lake. It was dry, and then it was like almost waist deep.
Over your bottom bracket. Over your bottom bracket. Yeah. That was,
And one other thing I want to say about the men's race, because we always say it the other way, I think this is an instance where the men's race was actually more exciting to watch than the women's race. Since we always point it out when it's the other way, I just want to make sure. I think the women's race, while still fun to watch, was Katarina Nash. Once she makes the pass very early, is out in front the rest of the way, where we see a much better battle for first place between Tone and Iserbyt, and we see a much better battle for third place with Vanternout. So I think...
I'll give you that.
I just want to say, in this instance, I think the men's race was the more exciting race to watch. So,
and we usually say that the men's race is 1 lap too long and the women's race 1 lap too short.
Yeah.
I'm wondering. I don't think you can take anything away by making the men's race a lap shorter. The Eli finished at 1:08, so you could argue that it was too long. The women's race at only 3 laps. I know. I spoke with Katarina. She was glad. She said that was a perfect length. Yolanda Neff, on the other hand, really wanted 1 more lap.
Oh, yeah.
And that may have been a much more exciting race had it been the full 50 minutes in which you would have had that battle for first place.
But I think, 1 more lap would have put them over their time.
Quite possibly.
So with the lap times.
I mean, they were running 13-minute laps. So it's hard to argue.
I think they made the right call. I think 3 was the appropriate number of laps on that race. Katarina wins in 41:55, doing 14-minute laps on average, I think. So, you add another one to that, you're at 56. I mean,
yeah.
That's way over. So.
It would have been, it would have been terrible.
No, I think it would have still been fine, but I think the officials made the right call. Since we harp on them, anytime they screw up, you know how those officials are.
It's the least we can do.
Have we told you, Matt, that we both used to be officials?
No.
A full season. 1 whole season. And we worked together. We still got along.
Nice.
All right. Well, before we go, Mr. Dave, Palin, and Matt, we just want to mention that we are part of the Wide Angle Podium, and we want to encourage people to get over and listen to Wide Angle Podium shows, especially the Gravel Lot. Did you guys listen to part 2 of the Adam Meyerson interview that they did? You did?
Yeah. And I'm a Bostonian.
Yeah.
Hearing about Brockton, Mass, man, home of the champions. You know who comes from Brockton? Rocky Marciano, no less than Rocky Marciano.
You don't have to say any more than that.
Yeah.
Who's that?
Marvin Hagler. Kidding. There's some punches coming out of there.
And to give it a tech angle, the best part of that episode is Adam Meyerson. If you haven't listened, get over and listen to that. Adam Meyerson talking about his switch to disc brake bikes.
Now that makes me the only podcaster on this network that's still holding on to my Canty stop, won't stop.
And the reason it's so funny is because we have all already lived what he's going through, because we've already made the switch, most of us, right? So to hear him talk about making that switch, it's just, I thought it was really funny and was the highlight of that episode. So if you get a chance, I definitely recommend getting over there and listening to that.
Go listen to our buddies Doug and John over at the Gravel Lot.
Yes.
Become a pebble.
That's right. All right, Matt, anything else Anything else you want to talk about, man? Hey, and we did say at the beginning, but before you were here, that thanks for competing in the April CX Challenge, man.
Oh yeah, it was super fun, guys. Thanks for having that. It was it's a nice little reminder of days past and CX seasons gone by, and
right, and way to break up, get you thinking about cyclocross in April.
Yeah, it's kind of getting into classic season, so you're like kind of climbing out of the old winter cave and thinking about putting some miles on. But yeah, it was a fun time, and I think there was quite a few people that, I think the one picture I think that was my favorite was so I decided to build up a fixie tracklocross. Tracklocross bike. So that was fun, squeezing.
And you had like a 1/16 of an inch of clearance, maybe.
Yeah. David was saying
perfect
how
bike for this mud, right?
Yeah, if it's too humid, you're rubbing. So, but yeah, it was fun. Thanks for doing that. I'm looking forward to next April and see what others can. We got to come up with.
We'll have to have some kind of thing where people can submit topics for the day.
Yeah.
Because
that'll be the March CX Challenge.
I might run out of ideas.
You know what I really liked, Scott, was how people took the meaning. You know what I mean? Like
That's what's so fun about that.
You put a statement on there or whatever it is, and then how does that person read that and then interpret it in a picture? And that was really cool.
Yeah, that's why it's cool that like you got to leave the topics like just vague enough, right?
Yeah.
So that people can like be creative and go in different directions. But then you see stuff, you're like, oh my God, I never would have thought of that. That's brilliant. So yeah, cool. No, we'll do something similar this year coming up too. So maybe you'll win again.
Hey, well, I'd love for that to happen, but I don't know if anyone wants to listen to me much more than they can. But I encourage everyone to hashtag April CX Challenge.
There we go.
All right.
All right, Matt, if people want to follow you on Instagram and go look at all those wonderful pictures.
Yes, I just recently updated my social media handle. It's CX and the City.
There you go.
CX. I love that.
Actually, Matt, are you busy? Can you stick around?
I can, yeah. And you know what, guys? I really would want you guys to come down to a Chicago Cross Cup race.
Yes,
when you get
I want
the chance. This year we are hosting Midwest Regionals at Montrose Beach, CX.
Nice.
And would love to have you guys down. And
I almost raced in Chicago once. It was the last time you had Midwest Regionals, and the night before I get everything all packed up in the car, ready to go. I was psyched, and it started to snow.
Oh,
that
makes
snowed.
it fun. Yeah.
And it was like 4 feet of snow on the course. I know that you guys had to get out there and dig it out somewhat of a track. It was not the course that was scaring me nearly as much as the drive over. So
yeah, that lake effect.
If we
go,
I'm going to come the night before for sure.
Well, little plug for nationals next year too. At
that's why I want to get there
Cantini
this year.
Park. So
yeah, I want to get there this year before that happens. So
all right, so where are we going, Scott?
All right, we're going to do a couple questions with Matt on the line still with us. So all right, I'm going to start it out here, Mr. David Palin, and I'm going to go down to the question we got from Kevin. Kevin says, Scotty and Davey.
Yeah.
Can you give an overview of how sponsorship is structured for some of the CX riders? Becca Faringer posted that she can't afford to go to the next round of World Cups in Europe. She was 4th at Nationals last December and 6th at Nationals in January 18. I thought she had a strong sponsorship with Kona. She's been one of the strongest riders in the U.S. for the past couple of years and proved it again with her finish at Jingle Cross. I realize some riders are privateers and some have major support like the Trek-sponsored riders, but I thought the team setup like Kerry Warner would be fully funded for a campaign to all the major events. Kevin. Kevin, welcome to the world of cyclocross. That is not how it is in cyclocross. There is no money in the sport of cyclocross. There is very, very little funds. And even teams that come out and look, that have a cool team set up, it's one thing to get enough money to do all that, to have your cool team tent, to have some kind of transportation vehicle, to have 2 and 3 bikes. That's all one thing. A lot of that you'll get from sponsors. Sponsors love to give you stuff. They don't love as much to give you money. So it's easier to get a lot of stuff from your sponsors. It's much harder to get enough money to travel over to Europe from your sponsors. And that is one of the big differences, I think. So you can see teams that look really outfitted well here, but then can't afford to go to Europe. And I think that's a very common thing, and I think it happens with most of the cases. And a lot of the riders that do go to Europe are paying for it themselves.
Yeah, and it's not, it's not results-based that these sponsors are looking for. And if it were, they'd keep them here in the States
right.
Because the results when they go overseas is not great.
Right. So, Matt, as a...
Yeah, so what Giant? How come Giant isn't sending Becca a big check?
Yeah. No,
any input?
It's funny you say, welcome to the world of cyclocross. Welcome to the world of USA cycling.
Yes, right, exactly.
Not to call USA cycling out per se, but I mean, yes, just seconding. There is zero money in cyclocross. It's hard enough for athletes to travel domestic And it takes a lot of time and effort, and you got to have a team.
Most of the time they're staying in host housing. And I mean, they don't even have enough money for hotels.
When they do stay in hotels, they have to act as a busboy and help Evil get his bags into the hotel.
Yeah, you'll hear that story too at the beginning of the show, Matt.
I mean, I think, a lot of people forget to be a world-class athlete like that, you need to have a lot of supportive people behind you. And that means mechanics and drivers and people cooking your food, I mean, it's to be an athlete, it just takes more than just talent, and it takes a lot of people. So.
Yep. All right, David, you want to read the next one from David?
All right. So, dear SD2VP.
I have no idea what that means.
Scotty D.
DVP. I see. Yeah. Now I get it.
He says he must be a chemist. Best I could come up with at 2 a.m. at work. What are you doing at work at 2 a.m?
I was going to say, man, oh man, David.
All right, Dave. All right. Greetings from sunny Northern California. It can't be sunny at 2 a.m. I found the podcast a few months ago and wanted to say thanks for all the info and entertainment. Love meeting all the interesting people you have on. Looking forward to meeting some in person. I turned 50 last year and went crazy. After not riding for many years, I bought a mountain bike and a gravel bike and am loving them. I did a local downhill race series this summer. I'm going to do a CX series this winter. I was hoping to do Sacramento as my first CX race, but we don't have that button anymore. Maybe next year. I even rode my gravel bike in a crit this weekend.
That's awesome.
The Grand Prix of Oakland. What a blast.
All right.
I've listened to all the latest edition of the podcast, and now I've started back at episode 1.
Oh, God love ya.
It's not as bad as you always say. I'm wondering if you have kept in touch with David from episode 2. Hopefully he has kept his interest in bikes going. Again, thanks for all the good info on bike maintenance and cycling in general. Sorry, no questions, but those will be coming in the future as I go forward and hopefully build a bike from the frame up next year, including wheels. Keep up the great work, David, WAP supporter.
I don't know what David, it was on episode 2.
It wasn't me.
It wasn't you.
Yeah.
I don't know what David that was. I'll have to go look.
Was it David Vanderpool?
No.
You guys haven't stayed in touch
No,
anyways.
We haven't.
Yeah.
We've lost touch. So. Well, thanks for that, David. That's very nice. I'm glad, and God love you for going back to episode 1. Yeah, that takes courage.
I think you got to start really at episode 13 or so when I joined the
35, David.
35. I always thought I went further back.
David wants to be.
I want to be.
He wants to
OG.
be. He wants to have started the show with me.
I did. It was my idea.
It was his idea. Right. All right, I'm gonna read another one. This is from Sean. Good time of day, Mr. David Palin and Scott Dienbach. I was listening to your viewer question show and had a great cheap tip. You're going to love this one, Matt. We have all seen the old towel trick to change in a parking lot. Matt, how many times have you done that?
Oh, wow. I mean,
more than you can count.
And that's super fun, changing out of a wet kit and everything is sticking to you and you're trying to hold the towel on. Yeah, make sure there isn't kids around.
Sure, it works, and sure, you always tend to have a towel you can toss in your bag. Several years ago, I went into my local Goodwill and headed for the ladies section. Parentheses, I'm a man. I found a long, elastic-waisted skirt for $5. It is nice and flowy, too.
He doesn't talk about what the pattern is. Was it like a gingham dress? Or?
He says, long gone are the days when I had to retuck my towel mid-change. It is probably the best $5 I have spent related to riding. Add in a $3 plastic beach mat from Five Below, and changing is super easy and fast. From Sean.
Nice, Sean. Sean's not going on any lists. Yeah, there you go.
All right, Matt, you got to hit the Goodwill.
Wow, yeah. That's a good idea. Like I said, I mean, that towel has a hard time staying on sometimes.
It actually is a really good idea, and I think they're making changing towels now that are made for this. Yeah. So, but, hey, if you're cheap like Sean...
And who isn't?
Just kidding.
I am, Sean. All right.
All right, Mr. David Palin.
All right.
Hit us with the next
Monsieurs Palin and Dienbach.
Wow.
You spelled your name right.
Yes.
A viewer from Montana, Wyoming border, reviewing from before you guys met.
Nice.
So
see, that was pre-episode 35. Go ahead.
On the last episode, you were talking about the origin of the peace sign.
Yes, we were. I remember that.
In the 60s, we were using the peace sign, but it predated us even more than I thought back then. I knew it came from the British anti-nukes movement, and Wikipedia dated its origin as 1958. Tear gassed many times, arrested once. A cycling genius in training, still getting better after 60-some years of riding.
Man.
Steve.
That is, I believe, 1958. I'd believe that.
I'd believe that for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love
and I would believe that Steve was tear gassed many times.
And arrested once. There you go. All right. Thanks for that, Steve. All right, moving on. We're going to do another one from Jason B. of Rhode Island. He
Biggest
says,
little state in the union.
He says, hello, love the show and was just wondering if you have any suggestions on a cordless inflator similar to the Craftsman C3 19.2 volt cordless inflator, which has a digital pressure display, which might show half PSI, and we easily converted to support a Presta. The Craftsman is discontinued and hard to find, and if you do, the price is too much. Thanks for the time and all you guys do, Jason B. of Rhode Island. So that is true. That thing is discontinued. You can still find them, but they are expensive. I would recommend, and here's the thing, Jason, none of them are easy to convert to a Presta. None of them have, these are all made for cars, or in Schrader valves in cars. But I would recommend, I think the next one, and actually maybe even have improved on the Craftsman one, is the Ryobi. Ryobi has been a tool sponsor of cycling for decades, so there's that. So you're supporting a brand that has a history of supporting cycling, so that's good. But I talked to my buddy Corey Green, right?
Yeah.
And they have like 3 or 4 of the Ryobis that they use. And I still have my Craftsman, and it's working great, so I still use that. But they've got 3 or 4 of those, and he's like, yeah, they're great. You do have to convert them. You have to do a little jiggering around to get a Presta end on there, but, you know, you're just going to have to do that with any of them. And so there you go. It's like a green color, and it looks like a Martian thing. Matt, do you have one of these, or do you use a pump, or what do you use?
No, yeah, I have a pump. I wish I had one. I've been looking at getting a cordless, but I have seen. The only ones I've ever seen is the Craftsman model. It's
the
always
other thing
fun.
you can go ahead.
Well, whenever I'm at these like World Cups, it's always super fun, kind of lurking near the pits, and I'm always looking at what everyone brings, right? Because everyone brings their own flavor. And I have seen those Craftsmans kind of converted with little rubber hose tubing, some crimp ties or whatever that are on there with the little Presta adapter that you see at the countertop of your bike shop. So it's always fun seeing the little tips and tricks and different things that people are making to make their day go smoother.
Yeah, I like having the Silka crack pipe on the end of mine. It just makes it on and off. It's so easy. But what I've been using lately, actually a lot. I actually haven't taken the Craftsman to any races here. I've been using my Lazine pump with the digital gauge in it.
Right. Yeah.
You can
floor pump.
Even if you have the needle gauge, you can upgrade those pretty inexpensively. It's very easy to do. That's what I did on mine. And I upgraded that to the digital, and I am really liking that. It's longer to take. It's weighs less than the Craftsman or any of those guns because it doesn't have a battery. Well, it has a little watch battery. And it is a little more cumbersome to fit in a pit bag, but it does still fit. Mm-hmm. So I've really been taking
it to
that.
The outside too.
That's what I do. Strap it to the outside, and it still has a digital readout. It still reads in 1/10 of a PSI, which if you have an instrument that reads to 1/10 of a PSI, it is technically only accurate to the next digit up.
Right.
So if you want to be digit to 1 PSI, you need something that has a 1/10 of a 10th readout. So, but this does have that, and I'm really liking it. I really like it because it's lighter. Matt, getting to the pit as much as anything, weight is very important.
It is, yeah. You have your big tool case that's at the tent, and you have your little mini tool case with the bare essentials in the pit.
Right.
So
what am I going to need when I go to that?
Exactly. I've resorted to little, like if anything happens mid-race, here I am, no mechanic working for me, but I'll run in there and I'll have a CO2 ready to go. Just in
nice.
case, you know what I mean? Like, just something simple.
Do you have it like already punctured and everything?
Already punctured,
and
just,
yeah. That's
Smart.
a good idea.
Yeah.
That's a great idea.
And that'll save my 13th place finish. So.
All right, Mr. David Palin.
Yes, sir. Is it my turn again?
Hit me with the one from Frank.
Hold on. I just lost my place here.
Now I'm going to have to edit.
Sorry. Here we go. From
Go.
Scotty D! Oh, you always make me read the ones that don't include me.
So there's a reason why this is only addressed to me. So go ahead.
All right. I'm currently working on my own dangling lever problem.
Oh,
the
geez.
SRAM Force one. Of course, my cylinder's jammed. Sadly, my 2 consumer-level bleed kits can't provide enough pressure to pop it out. Unfortunately, I was already playing...
Wait. Fortunately, not unfortunately. Go ahead.
Fortunately...
They have the opposite meaning, so I just want to make sure.
Okay, thank you. Oh, man. Fortunately, I was already planning to go to my local bike shop, the East Coasters Bike Shop.
Shout out. Go ahead.
I'm talking.
I know.
To use their Pro Bleed Kit. Used to work there, and they're a sponsor to finish the job. So hopefully I can pop it out tomorrow. I'm placing the retaining plate back in so the cylinder doesn't decide to pop out while in my car tomorrow.
Good.
However, the plate is not flat. Isn't it supposed to be flat? If it is, no worries. But if you have any alternative methods for popping out the cylinder, I'm open to suggestions. Thanks in advance. Sorry, just a one-time wide-angle podium donor. But it won't be the only time. Frank Deal from Go Cross.
So, yeah, that's what he's talking about when he says sponsor. And the reason he only addressed this to me is because the title of this email, Mr. David Palin, was...
Don't tell Mr. David Palin.
I need a quick response if possible. So he just sent it right to me, and I sent him an email response. But so I already responded to Frank, and he has actually already fixed this problem. But just for all the other listeners, the plate is supposed to be flat. He sent me a picture. His was all bent, and yeah, that's not supposed to be that way. So flatten that out as best you can before you put that in to keep that master cylinder in. But he did not need to travel to his local bike shop because I gave him a solution to this problem.
Tell us the solution.
So the solution is get your brake pads out of the caliper, put in the solid SRAM bleed block so that it's holding the pistons back as much as possible.
Right.
Hold the plate or your finger over that master cylinder so it doesn't shoot out of there.
In your eye.
And once you do that, when you have the cylinders blocked in the caliper, use the lever.
Brake lever.
Yeah, so squeeze the brake lever. That's going to give you way more pressure than the plunger, especially on the consumer level kit. Right. The Pro plungers gives you more pressure. But yeah, now you have your lever. Keep your hand over that master cylinder. Pull your lever. You might have to give it a couple pulls to pump up some fluid a little bit, and that master cylinder will rise up. He said it came up just enough. He was able to grab it with like a set of tweezers, and he did, and then was able to get it out. So there you go, Frank. Thanks for sending that. That was a great question, and he's already sent me another one that maybe include next week.
All right,
Mr. Dave Palin. I'm going to read our last one. He says, "Dear Mr. Diedenbach and Mr. Palin, I'm sure there will be great stories from Trek Cup this weekend due to the epic mud conditions. My weekend was only supposed to consist of a couple of amateur races, then spectating the World Cups. However, that changed when I found out that a couple of friends of mine who are hosting the Swedish riders of Lucas Winterberg, Timon Rug, and Kyle Kuhn needed help pitting due to their local mechanic getting injured while racing Saturday. So 15 minutes prior to the start of the women's race, I was thrown into the role of quote-unquote lead mechanic for bikes and riders I had just met. First step was figuring out the bar to PSI equivalent for each rider, then figuring out what tools and brushes I would need in the pit. Luckily, this little podcast helped prepare me for what to expect. I hope you had service course brushes. Amazingly, these guys came over with no spare wheels, only an A and B bike. I stole the tubulars off my race bike in case Lucas needed them. Good thing he had tubulars, Mr. Dave. Right. Probably because he listens to this show, we've convinced him to use tubulars, which thankfully I did because he flatted the first lap.
Interesting that they were only for Lucas to use.
Well, because the other two were out of luck because of different rotor sizes.
There we go.
I also suggested bringing extra shoes in case they broke a BOA during the race, which thankfully I did because Kevin broke his on Factory Hill. This was an awesome, nerve-wracking experience. I expected to have a beer and watch some racing. Instead, I ended up being part of the race. Just wanted to say thank you for the tech advice you guys offer and say I'm sorry I didn't get to stop and say hi while I was there. Keep up the good work. Joe from Des Moines, Iowa. How freaking cool is that, Mr. David Palin?
That is so cool.
I've heard a lot of stories like that where, the European teams, they just come over in, ones and twos. There was quite a few teams where they just sent one rider, and there's very little support for them. Mm-hmm. And they, a lot of times, will have a contact here, like Jose with SRAM NRS.
Right. Yeah, I think he helped Sophie.
Yeah, Sophie. So my buddy that I traveled with, Andres Gutierrez, he was helping in the pits too. So he had a big smile on his face, helping out a World Cup rider like that. So that's
cool.
Pretty cool.
We'd heard a similar story with Philip from Midwest Devo, one of their juniors, who got to help out Thomas Moosen.
Yeah.
How cool is
that? Yeah, that is very cool. Yeah, when the Australians came over, they had 2 bikes, but they also each had a spare set of wheels. So that was really nice that they had those. And they were riding Focuses with the exact same brake rotor size and everything as my bike. So basically all my wheels could be used for spares for them. So that was nice. But it's interesting when you're traveling, we got the earlier question about Americans traveling over there, and you see it's just as big of a problem for them traveling here too. They have issues too. So all right, Matt. Well, hey, man, thanks for being on the show with us.
Yeah, thanks a lot, guys, for having me. It's been a great afternoon.
This was awesome getting to go through some questions for you, and thanks for listening. Thanks for being a super fan, and we'll have to have you on again now, especially because you bought a microphone.
Oh, yeah, we're pro. Yeah, 100% now. I'm so super happy. Yeah, it sounds awesome. I'm glad that my dogs aren't in the back causing a ruckus, and no one rang my doorbell, so we are
all right, Matt. You take care, Mr. David Palin.
Yes, sir.
Is there anything you want to say?
You can reach me. I know the question you're really asking.
Yeah.
You can reach me at Mr. David Palin on the Twitter and on the Instagram.
And you can reach me, Scott Diedenbach. I am at bikeshopcx on Instagram and on Twitter. Give us a follow. We sometimes will follow back.
I've been trying to do that. You're the big star and everybody follows you. You just don't have time for them. People get in touch with me. I get back to them on the instance.
And thanks, everybody, for listening. And we'll catch you next time. We're going to have a lot of good stuff next time. We have a couple questions already for the next time that we didn't get into the show.
And with that, the bike shop is closed. All right, this is the part where we don't talk, right? Okay, no talk.
All right, that is the show for this time. I hope everybody dug it. Thanks to Matt for being on with us, Mr. David Palin. That was awesome. We're wrapping it up. Next time, we're going to get back into tech talk. We got to get back. We got some tech topics we want to cover.
That's why this show was so short.
That's why this show is very short show. And all that stuff. So we'll be back on a normal schedule now. Still covering the next race I'm going to is Cincy, so I have several weeks to get ready for that. So back on schedule with all the normal tech stuff that we typically cover. All right, I hope everybody, even though it's muddy, I hope you're getting out there and riding. If you are getting out there and riding, you know the drill. Be careful out there. Take care of each other out there. And until next time, the Bike Shop is closed.